What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 248 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for August 29th, 2018. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Of course, as always, if you want to send in a question, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below on this very video in the comments section. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So without further ado, first question from Muhammad D from Facebook. His first question was, do you agree with how the Shield is reuniting only for the sake of protecting Roman Reigns and Strowman, now presumably turned heel, that WWE has completed what JD from NY206 called as the Roman Reigns agenda to continuously try to put him over, and do you think it'll work? Yeah, it's very obvious the only real reason that the Shield is back together, I mean, aside from the fact that their last run was never really truly completed, I assumed at the time that the only real reason it was cut short the first time, late last year, was because Dean Ambrose got hurt. So, of course, it only makes sense to reunite them now that Ambrose is back and healthy. But not only that, but they're doing that just to get Roman Reigns cheered. Now, I don't think it'll work when he's on his own, when he's wrestling on his own like he was in the main event of Raw this week. I know he was teaming with Strowman, but he wasn't with the Shield. When he isn't with the Shield, I assume he'll still be booed. Otherwise, he's going to be cheered with the Shield because people love the Shield. So yes, as the Solomonster has said, as JD from NY206 have said, they are creating a Shield to protect Roman Reigns and get him cheered in the process. Now, I don't think it'll work. It could. I know in Brooklyn last week when the Shield reunited, they cheered him. But that was just for the pure sake of, oh, the Shield is back, we're surprised, we love the Shield. Beyond that, I don't think that once the Shield breaks up, Roman Reigns will be any more over as the babyface than he was before. That's purely my speculation. I could be wrong, but my view of things is that nothing will ever really change with Roman Reigns until they turn him heel. It doesn't matter whether they get the Shield back together. It doesn't matter whether they have him get endorsed by this guy or that guy or put him with the most popular babyface in the company. People are going to see through that shit and still dislike Roman Reigns no matter what. They may cheer him for the collective group of the Shield, but they're not cheering specifically Roman Reigns, at least not the majority. Solomonster didn't mind. JD from NY206 had a huge problem with it. The Strowman heel turn thing, I don't think... I'm trying to see if anyone else talked about it. Yeah, I had another question about Braun Strowman, so I'll save that for later. About could he have been turned heel? Did he turn heel? Is that a good idea? Bad idea? Obviously, you may know my answer on that, but I'll talk about that towards the end of the episode. But with the Roman Reigns thing, I don't have a huge problem with it. If they turn other people heel just to get Roman Reigns cheered, like a more popular babyface in Braun Strowman, now that's an issue. But if they are just doing this just to get the Shield back together, cheer Roman Reigns, I know exactly what they're doing. I don't think anyone doesn't realize what they're doing here with Roman Reigns and the Shield and trying to get him cheered. I think everyone is very well aware of what they're going for here, what they're trying to accomplish with Roman Reigns, and that's fine. That is completely fine. As long as you don't screw up other babyfaces on the roster like Braun Strowman, who is organically, genuinely over, that's an issue. Again, I'll talk about that a little later on towards the end of the episode, but the Shield thing doesn't bother me. I love the Shield. I know what they're doing. We're all well aware of what they're going for here, but it's the fucking Shield, and they're fucking cool, so I'm going to cheer them no matter what. But that doesn't really necessarily mean, oh, I love Roman Reigns. Like, I like Roman Reigns, but the booking of his character is still shit. Now, it has improved. I know it's only been a week, but since he won the Universal Championship, he's a fighting champion. Again, I feel like it's a lot like the Sheamus thing from a few years ago, where when he beat Sheamus for the belt, people cheered. A, probably because they were seeing a title change and they weren't expecting it, but also B, it's fucking Sheamus. Sheamus' reign as world champion was terrible. It was really, really bad. So obviously Roman Reigns would be seen as an improvement when he beat him for the belt. So with that in mind, you're going to cheer whoever takes that championship from him, because it's better than the last guy. Anything was better than Brock Lesnar at that point, because Brock Lesnar was never fucking around. But Roman Reigns was a better choice. just because anything is better than Brock. So, of course, they're going to cheer Roman. Whereas, if it was Seth Rollins or AJ Styles or Braun Strowman that he beat for the championship, completely different story. So, I don't know how long this honeymoon phase is going to last for Roman. I would assume no more than a month. Didn't last too long the first time back in late 2015. He was cheered, or rather booed, by the Rumble, even though they were in his native Florida. So, we'll see. I could see him being booed again by fucking Hell in the Cell. I mean, he is facing Braun Strowman. People will side with Braun, whether he's face, heel, or tweener. But we'll see. I still think people will cheer the Shield regardless. And I am happy the Shield is back, just because they were never really given that real reunion run the first time around. Muhammad's second question: who do you think will be the most viable next title holder for the WWE Universal Championship from Roman Reigns at some point, and why? That's a good question. No one really on the Raw roster sticks out at the present moment. Like, I could say Braun, but I doubt they're going to take the championship off of Roman so soon. Braun should hold the belt. He absolutely should hold the championship. The guy's been waiting for a run with that belt for over a year now. He has been ready for a year. And the longer they wait, the more damage is done to Braun. He just comes across like a loser who can't win when it matters most. He can win random-ass matches with Kevin Owens or fucking random-ass tag team matches against Sami Zayn, but he can't beat Roman Reigns when it matters most. He can't beat Brock Lesnar when it matters most. He can fucking team with a 10-year-old kid, but he can't win the big one. So that's the story that I get with Braun Strowman, especially now that they turned him heel. And I assume that he was going to lose again in Hell in the Cell, which does not reflect too well on the Money in the Bank briefcase after Baron Corbin, the other male winner from last year, also failed to capture the championship successfully when he cashed in the contract. So, anyway, if it's not Braun Strowman, I would say Seth, because Seth really does have unfinished business in the Universal Championship picture. He's never held the belt. He is one of the most organically over people on that brand right now. I don't see Seth beating Roman, though. I will say Ambrose. Ambrose, I think, is a good choice, just because I could see Ambrose turning on the Shield, turning on Roman, turning on Seth, becoming the de facto number one heel on Raw, and then hopefully at some point winning that championship from Roman. Now, I'm not banking on it. I don't think he would ever beat Roman clean, Dean Ambrose would, but Seth has beat him clean before. I mean, granted, that was around the time Roman got suspended, so they were probably like, fuck this guy, we'll have him lose clean to Seth Rollins, why the hell not? Otherwise, I don't know if he would have lost clean to Seth, that's my thing. With Ambrose, I could see it happening maybe around early next year. Now, I don't think Ambrose would be champion going into WrestleMania. If they wanted to do another Shield triple threat at WrestleMania, I think that'd be great. This time with Ambrose as the heel and Rollins as a babyface. That would be pretty cool. I doubt they're going in that direction. I highly, highly doubt we're getting another Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. We do finally need a main event of WrestleMania that does not involve a part-timer. We've had WrestleMania main events for like the last 6 or 7 years that have featured part-timers every single year. This past year it was Brock Lesnar. The year before it was The Undertaker. In 2016 it was Triple H. In 2015 it was Brock Lesnar. In 2014 it was Batista. I know he was a full-timer at that point, but technically a part-timer because he was only around for a few months. 2013 it was The Rock. 2012 it was The Rock. 2011 it was John Cena and The Miz, and the match sucked, but the Rock did get involved. So 2010 it was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, both guys who were on their way out anyway and were winding down their full-time schedules. 2009 might be the last real time we had a full-timer versus full-timer main event without any interference from part-timers, and that was Triple H versus Randy Orton. And those were hardly two fresh faces at that point. But a Shield triple threat, I think, could sell people on that show. You can have part-timers on the card, but I think it's important to finally close your biggest show of the year with 3 people who are here right now and will be here for the coming years, for the next 5-10 years. So I know that's not your question, but to go back to your original question, I just wanted to point that out. I do think Ambrose could be a viable next successor to Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion. Maybe not long term. I could see Ambrose winning it for like a month or two before Roman gets the belt back. But beyond that, unlike with Brock Lesnar, it's like, okay, we know Roman Reigns is going to beat him for the belt. This time we don't really know, and I think that's a good thing. Because they could always build someone up out of nowhere. They could build up Kevin Owens again. I doubt Bobby Roode would beat Roman Reigns for the championship. But, Baron Corbin maybe. I highly doubt it. I hope not. The guy's really not that good. I like Baron Corbin, but no thanks. Finn Balor maybe. I know he lost to Roman Reigns last week, but he still deserves a real run with that championship. So again, I'm not sure. And that's what I like about the Roman Reigns title run right now, is that we're not really sure who could be the one to ultimately take that championship from him. Unlike with Brock Lesnar, where it was obvious the entire time. Like during the Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman title defenses, we knew that he wasn't going to drop the championship to them because we fucking knew that it was going to Roman Reigns in the end. So that made those matches extremely predictable. With the Roman Reigns matches, though, I doubt he would lose this soon. But realistically, anyone on that roster could beat him for the belt at some point down the road. So that's kind of what I'm liking about this run so far. Muhammad's third question, with the rumor saying that The Rock is the odds-on favorite to win the 2019 Royal Rumble match, which surprised the hell out of me, do you think we should trust odds-on favorites nowadays since they can be ridiculous like this rumor stated? I know I had read the headline saying a big name rumored to win the Royal Rumble in 2019. I didn't read the article because I assumed it was stupid, and you're telling me now it's The Rock, and that kind of confirms my suspicion. Doesn't surprise me, honestly. It doesn't really surprise the hell out of me at all. I mean, this is the same people that thought Daniel Bryan would win the Royal Rumble match this year. No, I know, I know he came back to the ring a couple months later. I realize that. But that process did not start well after the Rumble. There was no report saying that Daniel Bryan was on his way back to the ring come Royal Rumble. And it wouldn't even made sense. Daniel Bryan winning the Rumble night one, coming back out of as the fucking GM of SmackDown, would have made 0 sense. But people still thought he would win anyway. CM Punk was a rumor to win the Royal Rumble. Like, people, he's in the fucking UFC. He's got a lawsuit with the company at that point in time. Now it's over, but it's so stupid. I hate the betting odds. They're so dumb. Because it's fucking wrestling. Like, anyone can win. They could have Zack Ryder win if they wanted to. I know it's kind of fun to predict who's going to win and who might go over, all that other stuff, but to put money on that shit is so stupid. Because anyone could win at the drop of a hat. They could see the betting odds and then change them like that. The company's notorious for doing that, seeing the odds and then wanting to swerve whoever's paying money or whoever's putting money on this specific guy. What the fuck? Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? The Rock is not winning the 2019 Royal Rumble. We've been down this path before with The Rock. He got his last real run in 2013 as WWE champion. That was 6 years ago. The guy wasn't in amazing shape at that point. I mean, the guy's in phenomenal shape, but in terms of in-ring shape, the match with John Cena that year at WrestleMania sucked. The WrestleMania 28 match I thought was really good. It was once in a lifetime. The atmosphere was great. The 2013 match was not necessary, and it fucking sucked. The Rock is now 6 years older by 2019. Why the hell does anyone think he could win the Rumble and then go for the championship at WrestleMania? What, with Roman Reigns? Is that the idea here? Going back to the previous question, that The Rock could be the only one to face Roman for that championship? Now, I would not be opposed to seeing Rock and Roman Reigns. I think the company would be dumb as hell to do that. If they're trying to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface, why the hell would they have him face The Rock? One of the most beloved people in WWE history. That makes absolutely no sense. So, I mean, I could see the match happening. And I'm also not opposed to another Rock match at WrestleMania. I think he has to go out on a high note with a big name and not fucking Eric Rowan. But having him win the Rumble is ridiculous. So no, we should not trust the odds. I don't know why people ever go off the odds. Who cares? Go off what makes sense and what WWE's track record is. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible for The Rock to win the Rumble, but been there, done that. The guy's, 40-something years old at this point. No reason to have him win the Royal Rumble when you have Daniel Bryan sitting right there who actually makes sense. Now, I know I made fun of the fact that people were saying that he was going to win this year, and obviously he wasn't even in it. He wasn't cleared to compete for another 2 months. But Daniel Bryan winning this coming year's Royal Rumble makes 100% sense. It makes complete sense. The guy's never won a Rumble. People first thought that he would win the Rumble 5 years from 2019, so dating back to 2014. 5 years later, he finally wins it to go on to face The Miz at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. That's my prediction. That's what I would love to see. And I think that just makes complete sense. They will be in Phoenix. Bryan spent, I don't think he lives there now. They moved so many fucking times on those Total Bella shows. I have no idea. But they were there for a long time. He obviously has some support from Phoenix. I doubt they would boo him anyway. I'm sure they would not turn down a Daniel Bryan Royal Rumble win. I think Bryan would makes the most sense as of right now to win the 2019 Royal Rumble. Definitely not The Rock. So never really look at those things as anything more than a fucking scam or just people being stupid. Jeremy B. from Facebook. Do you believe the Almas versus Bryan match on SmackDown was a teaser to a WWE title match between the two at SummerSlam next year? It could be. I mean, it's so far out that it's really hard to predict what the main event of SummerSlam could be. I don't see why not. Like I just said, I could very well see Daniel Bryan winning the championship at WrestleMania. And in that case, I wouldn't take the championship off of him at the earliest until SummerSlam. Now, hopefully by that point, Almas has been built up. I could see the two having a feud before SummerSlam 2019 based off how good that match was last night. Now, it was dragged down by interference from Maurice and Brie Bella and The Miz and Zelina Vega. But even with all the nonsense and all the bullshit and all the shenanigans, it was still a really, really good match. And I'm sure the match could be even better if it's just them one-on-one on a big stage such as SummerSlam or WrestleMania. But I do think a WWE Championship match between the two, assuming Bryan resigns, which I'm sure he either has or will. They've already booked a mixed tag team match for Hell in a Cell. Now, that's not to say that he hasn't signed an extension. He very well could have, but I already had the suspicion anyway that he was going to re-sign with the company, so I didn't think he was leaving regardless. But yeah, assuming Bryan is still here and they haven't ruined Almas by that point, yeah, Almas versus Bryan as a SummerSlam WWE Championship match makes total sense, and I would love to see it. There's a lot of people Bryan still needs to work with, like Shinsuke Nakamura, a real program with AJ Styles, few people from the Raw brand. Seth Rollins comes to mind. But Almas is at the top of that list as well. Maybe not number one, but he's certainly towards the top of that list. And having him and Bryan work a WWE Championship program at a pay-per-view such as SummerSlam is, kind of writes itself, kind of makes sense. So I do hope, I could see them having another match before then on SmackDown, but I would leave it as we had this match on one of the post-SummerSlam episodes of SmackDown. A year later, we now clash for the WWE Championship. And that match last night did go to a no contest, or a DQ, whatever. So it's not like we were given a real finish. Now, again, I could see Bryan coming back and beating Almas next week, but I would leave it the way it is and go back to that match for SummerSlam next year. So I really like that idea. At Reborn Again from Twitter, is WWE completely tone deaf with their recent decisions to try and turn Becky Lynch and Braun Strowman heel? Also, will either turn stick, considering how over both of them are in the eyes of fans. Yeah, they are tone deaf. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They don't care what the fans think. They don't care what the fans are cheering for. If the audience that they're supposed to be paving this product for is not in favor of something they're doing, sometimes they'll listen and adjust their plans. Usually they'll go right along with whatever agenda they want to feed you. And that agenda in this case is Charlotte as the face and Becky as the heel. Now, they can try all they want to make people accept those people and those roles. It's not going to work. It really won't. I still think people will continue to cheer Becky over Charlotte. And with the Braun Strowman thing, this is what I was going to talk about earlier. Yeah, it is really, really stupid if that was a heel turn. Now, I say if for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know. They realize how over the guy is. I know Becky was over too, but Braun Strowman is like one of their top guys. Becky Lynch is one of their top female stars, but Braun Strowman was like one of the faces of Raw. So to turn him heel just to get Roman Reigns cheered is one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. Now I say if he turned heel because last week you would think that the Shield, what they did was kind of sort of heelish. Braun Strowman was about to cash in his briefcase as he promised that he would. The Shield comes out and fucks it up and triple power bombs him through a commentary table. How is that fair? And the only time Braun can exact revenge and can even the odds with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, he's a heel? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If that's the narrative they're going for here, if anything, the Shield are heels, not Braun Strowman. So we'll see what the follow-up is on Raw. I guess just because, Roman Reigns got help from two fellow babyfaces and Braun got help from two fellow heels, that he's a heel, I guess, by default. I don't know, but even then, it was still a dumb angle to do. Because even if you didn't turn him heel, you get people confused as to whether he's a heel or a face. It's so fucking screwed up. You can't muddy the waters with shit like that. That's how you ruin people. I know they have their tweeners and stuff, and certain people can kind of pull that off. Braun, the guy is so beloved. Don't even go down that road. Don't even experiment with that. Just leave him as a full-fledged face and allow him to get cheered like people want him to get cheered. Toying with the idea of turning him heel but not actually turning him heel will make matters even worse. because he's not a well-defined character. I don't think the Braun Strowman quote-unquote heel turn will stick. I do think that it's maybe just an eye for an eye type. That's what he tweeted. That's what Braun Strowman tweeted on Monday or Tuesday, an eye for an eye. Yeah, because Roman did the exact same thing the week before, so what makes Braun any different? So, oh my God, Braun's a heel. I forgot how the commentators reacted, because they didn't react all to like, oh my God, the Shield are a bunch of assholes for doing this. No, like they treated it like it was a big deal, like they're three heroes coming to the aid of Roman Reigns. Whereas with Braun Strowman, the guy's a dickhead because he did that because he did it with Dolph and Drew and not two beloved baby faces. Anyway, the Becky thing I think will stick. I don't think they're going to go back on that. She's killing it in the role, but they're not going to boo her over Charlotte. I don't know if the Braun thing will stick. We'll see. I think they're just doing that just to get some sort of, I don't want to say heat on Braun, but on paper, as it stands currently, it's Roman and Braun at Hell in a Cell, two big baby faces going one-on-one. Maybe they want to get heat on Braun just for this match, like they did with Bobby Lashley before the Extreme Rules match, because they thought that we would cheer Roman over Bobby. Like, give me a fucking break. They try to turn Bobby heel and gain sympathy for Roman. Like, no one gives a shit. No one cares. They're trying to do the same thing with Braun. Bobby Lashley didn't go heel. He should have, but he didn't. And I don't think Braun Strowman's going to go full-fledged heel either. We'll see. I don't think he will, but to even toy with that is really stupid. John's second question here, what are your thoughts on the Bellas coming back to the ring? Personally, I think it's completely unnecessary, though I get why they're doing it, i.e. Total Bellas in the Evolution pay-per-view. I don't really have a stance one way or the other. Honestly, I really liked Nikki Bella's last run. I think someone brought that up either last week or the week before with the Ronda Rousey Nikki Bella Evolution match being pitched. They are right that Nikki Bella's last run in WWE from like SummerSlam 2016 to WrestleMania 33, I thought was great. The matches and feuds that she had with Natalya, Carmella, and Marie/The Miz, I thought were really, really good. And she never once held the championship. She didn't even go for the championship. She was never once in contention for the championship. I would fucking hate to see her go for the belt. Like, been there, done that. You know, they've been here for 10 years now, on and off, the Bella Twins have. It's time to move on from the Bella Twins as the faces of Raw and SmackDown's women's divisions. If you want to bring them in as background players, that's fine. I don't know, I never really gave a shit about the Bellas together. I really like them on their own, to be honest, maybe just because I feel like we've seen the Bella Twins, the Twin Magic shit, so many times over the last 10 years. To see Nikki as a singles babyface, I thought was great. It was something refreshing, and she did really well in the role. Brie, we never really got to see her get her own singles run. She kind of did when Nikki got hurt in late 2015. She went for the championship against Charlotte before she retired in early 2016, which was good. I thought she was good in that role. But to see them back together, I don't really care about that. I really don't need to see him facing the Riot Squad and Absolution or Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and the Iconics. Like, I really don't care to see that too much, but that's just me. But yeah, I could see why they're doing it. Like you said, Total Bellas and the Evolution pay-per-view. Like, I don't want to see the Bellas aren't a draw, because they definitely are with a lot of female fans. They're very popular. But I just don't think a Nikki Bella Ronda Rousey main event for Evolution is necessary. No thanks. I just don't think the match would be that good. I think Nikki Bella is good, but her and Ronda on paper does nothing for me. Again, like I said last week or the week before, they could change my mind on that. With the build-up and the promos and getting heat on Nikki if they turn her heel. I guess that could work, but as of right now, it does nothing for me. So again, seeing the Bellas all over the TV, again, it's one thing if you bring them in for an undercard role and have them appear on television once or twice. They were at fucking SummerSlam 4 or 5 times. They were on TV at the pay-per-view like 4 or 5 times. It's like, oh my God, I'm already sick of seeing these women. And they were on Raw this week. Brie Bella was on SmackDown. The Brie and Bryan stuff, again, I think it's great. Having Brie separated from Nikki, I think is perfect. But when you put them together, it's just not necessary. It's stupid. I know there's rumors of the women's tag team titles, which I'm not even really a big fan of anyway. You know that if they did that, the Bellas would very well be the first ever women's tag team champions. And I guess rightfully so, because they've been here for so long, and they kind of I don't want to say reinvented, but they kind of helped pave the way for women's tag team wrestling, even though there really wasn't a tag team division in WWE before recently. But they really were one of the first women's tag teams dating back over a decade. So I could see why they would do it, but Still, I'm not really too fond of the Bellas coming back to the ring just because, there's no matches like, oh my god, Brie Bella and fucking Lana, like, oh my god, I need to see that match. Like, not really. Like, if they're around to add more depth to both divisions, that's fine, but keep them on one show and keep their appearances to a minimum. The overexposure is fucking what's gonna do them in more than anything, real quick. And John's third question here. I know this is not wrestling related, but are you much of a horror movie fan? And if so, are you excited for the new Halloween movie in October? Well, first of all, before I even answer that question, John at Reborn Again, he's got great movie reviews. I plug him all the time here on the show, but the guy's got a great channel, great videos. I specifically go out of my way. The wrestling videos are awesome too, of course, but I go out of my way to check out the movie reviews. Hearing his 2 cents on movies, especially if they're shit, and hearing him poop all over, I think is great. Like Truth or Dare and all the Slender Man. Hearing him poop all over these movies is amazing. So I hope that's not the case with Halloween, just because Halloween does look fucking great. Now, to answer your question, am I much of a horror movie fan? Not really. Like I didn't see Hereditary, that movie. That's not really a horror movie to me. That just seems fucked up. Like I like thriller movies like Split. I thought that was really good. That wasn't really a horror movie per se. Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. They're horror movies, but like cliche horror movies where they're not like scary. I'm not into like the scary shit. That isn't really scary. I mean, obviously it's not real and all this other shit. And they're classic horror movies. And I like that type of stuff. I love Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street, and the Halloween movies. I love that shit. So yes, I am looking forward to it. I like what they're doing with it, how it immediately takes place right after the first one. They're bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis for the main role. Mike Myers, obviously. I don't know if it's the same guy playing Michael Myers this time as it was 30 years ago. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, just the whole thing looks great. The sets, the music. I watched the trailer. It looks phenomenal. I'm really excited for it. I'm glad it's coming out around Halloween time. I think October 19th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure is the release date for it. I'm a big Halloween guy anyway, not just the movie, but like Halloween the holiday. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. That and Predator, probably my 2 most anticipated movies coming out in the remainder of 2018 that I'm really looking forward to. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be great. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great movie. Just based off what I've seen so far, it could shit the bed, it could bomb. But based off what I've seen, I'm excited for it, and I think it's going to be good. It's a lot like It. It's a lot like It. Again, not your typical horror movie. If you don't like clowns, maybe you're going to be super afraid of it, but again, it's something to not be too afraid of. Like, there were jump scares, but that's what I like. I like the mini jump scares. Not anything that's going to, like, fuck me up for days. Like Hereditary, which I heard horrible things about because they do some pretty fucked up shit in those movies. I'm all set with that. But I like Halloween because it's a lot like It, which they did bring back. It wasn't a sequel. It was a remake to the original movie from years ago, and it was awesome. I really liked It. And again, I'm not a big horror movie fan, but I thought It was really good. I thought the acting was good. The story was good. I'm looking forward to the sequel. So yeah, hopefully Halloween has similar success. At BSG 103079, his question was, new to your videos and podcast, thank you for the support. The question is, wouldn't the WWE just be better off without gimmick pay-per-views when the gimmick match has no outcome in matches? 100%. I absolutely agree. They never really play too much of a factor anyway. I mean, I've said this for years. The gimmick pay-per-views are completely worthless. They're completely unnecessary. Just get rid of them altogether. Extreme Rules, I was fine with for a long time, just because, you know, they would go to the extreme more often than not and come up with like gimmick matches for every match in the card. That has not been the case in years, at least dating back to 2014, 2015. And the last couple of Extreme Rules shows have been WWE Standard Rules, not Extreme Rules. So I would get rid of that show. Hell in the Cell has been good over the years to an extent. I still think it's unnecessary. I would only bring back the match when it's necessary and not, not every October. Oh, it's October, time for Hell in the Cell. Like, Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton doesn't really need to be in the cell. I know they're doing it probably just because Jeff asked for a Hell in the Cell match, and he's always wanted to do one, so I understand that. Braun and Roman, I know they have history, but the feud just restarted. Do they really need to be inside Hell in the Cell? Like, not really. So again, I would bring back the stipulation on occasion and not hold it every October. TLC, same thing, a dumbass concept. I thought they got rid of it when they replaced it with Evolution in October, but they only really bumped it back to December, which sucks because I think, again, another pay-per-view that we just don't need. We had one TLC main event on last year's show. That was it. Other than that, it was a complete waste of a show. I don't remember anything about that show except for AJ and Balor in the main event. And the only reason those two matches were memorable was because Roman and Bray Wyatt got sick. So they put AJ Styles on the show, and they put Roman Reigns, or they put Kurt Angle in the main event in place of Roman Reigns. So anyway, to answer your question, yeah, I would get rid of the gimmick pay-per-views, if not, most, if not all of them. They don't really play much of a factor in the finish of matches, and it's just a waste. It's a waste. I'd rather have them bring back No Mercy, which they got rid of. I thought No Mercy was a pretty good pay-per-view, and it's just a standard pay-per-view. It's a standard pay-per-view. Bring back gimmick matches and stuff like that when it's necessary, not just because it's that time of the month again. At Scarlet One from Twitter, have you heard about Jason Sensation and his quote-unquote joke about attending Raw to shoot himself in the head live? Yeah, I did hear about that as it was going on Monday during Raw. What a fucked up, stupid thing to do. Apparently he was just joking, like you said. The police found him at his home. They brought him into the hospital until the show was over, just to make sure he didn't do anything. They questioned him, all this other stuff. Like, what a dumb thing to do. And say, why the fuck would you tweet that out there? Because you know people are going to see it, and you know people are going to take it seriously. Obviously, he was not joking. Apparently, he does deal with depression. I mean, a lot of people do. But you don't tweet out. I mean, again, if you say they're going to kill yourself, first of all, that's concerning enough. But when you say that you're going to go to Raw and shoot yourself in the head in front of thousands of people, millions of people watching around the world, live on TV, that's very concerning and reason for police to get involved. So yeah, I did hear about that. What a fucking stupid thing for that guy to do / say. Hopefully he gets the help that he needs, because that's very concerning. I would not let that guy out of their sights anytime soon. I would fucking get that guy an award ASAP, because that is some very scary behavior right there. Also considering, too, there's shootings all the time. Everywhere. Some fucking kid shut up a gaming tournament the other day because he lost at Madden. Like, what is this world coming to? Like, you can't make threats like that and not expect something to come from it. Like, again, it's stupid, but also not only that, he should be reprimanded for his actions, for whatever he said on Twitter, for what he did say, by either being, they can't hold him in custody just for that, I guess. I don't know what you would do, but I would get him an award or a psychiatric ward or whatever, the Nut House ASAP, just because that is some scary behavior, and you never really know what people might do nowadays, because nowadays you can really walk in anywhere with weapons and shit like that, and in arenas and stuff like that, they obviously are very good about patting people down and getting weapons out of the arena and stuff like that, but still, that does cause some concern. If, like, I was there, like, I would be kind of scared if I was going to Raw that night and I heard about that before I went. Like, and that kind of, from WWE's standpoint, it's like, okay, that's not a great look for our company, and it's not going to want to make people go to our shows if something like that happened or was even teased. So they gotta really crack down on that shit. At the Average Grunt from Twitter, with the exciting news of SummerSlam coming to Toronto next year coming out recently, what are your early predictions for who will be the WWE and Universal Champions going into that show? He also said, #see you there. I would love to go to SummerSlam in Toronto next year. That would be great. I've been to Toronto. I'm pretty sure I've been to Toronto before. Never for a wrestling show, obviously. It was once like 10, 11 years ago. Would love to go for a wrestling show. The crowds there are great. I know a lot of people from the country, so would be awesome to see them if I can go. But, yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list for 2019. But to answer your question, I said earlier, Daniel Bryan, I think makes sense. Him winning the championship at WrestleMania, then holding it till SummerSlam. So I'll say Daniel Bryan for WWE. For Universal, Roman Reigns would be my easy guess. Not because I think he'll hold the championship between now and then. That would be, I don't know. It depends how the reign is booked, but I think people are already sick of Roman Reigns as it is, let alone as Universal Champion, let alone a year from now still as champion. I don't think they'll do another long run like that, like they did with Brock Lesnar, anytime soon. But point being, with the Universal Championship, I do think Roman Reigns is still the number one guy in that brand. I don't see anyone else coming out to surpass him as the top guy in that show, as the Universal Champion. I guess maybe Seth or Ambrose, but beyond Rollins and Ambrose, I do think that the most obvious suspect to walk into SummerSlam next year as Universal Champion would be Roman Reigns. Unless he gets moved to SmackDown, which I don't think will happen anyway. He's like the new version of John Cena, where I don't think he's ever going to switch shows. I'd keep him right where he is, and he's my guess to walk into SummerSlam next year as the Universal Champion. And final question from at HBK Kevin 91581 from Twitter. His question was, is WWE going to screw up Braun Strowman as far as being a legit top guy? That's what I'm afraid of here. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not fully convinced that he's a full-fledged heel just yet. But either way, just to test the waters with that and to see if people will boo him over Roman Reigns is not very good for his character. They've done this before with people, where they'll either turn them heel or test them as a tweener, and it just turns people off to those wrestlers like altogether, and it does them no favor. So just either turn him heel or keep him the way that he is. Obviously, just keep him as a babyface, which I would do anyway because the guy's so popular. Why the hell would you turn him heel? But yeah, they are kind of, and like I said earlier too, they are kind of damaging his credibility as a top guy. Now I know he squashed Kevin Owens in a minute and a half at SummerSlam. That might be more of a reflection of Kevin Owens' status right now as a loser than it is as Braun Strowman as a top guy. But like I said earlier, Braun Strowman has now failed to win the championship. How many times now? He failed to win the championship at SummerSlam 2017. He failed to win the championship at No Mercy the next month. At Royal Rumble in January. He won Money in the Bank. He has now failed to cash in a few different times. At SummerSlam the next night. Now he's cashing in at Hell in a Cell. I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous. So I don't know. They have to get that belt on Braun. Otherwise, they're really damaging him as a guy who can't win the big one. And he should have won the big one a long time ago, obviously. But they had their Braun Strowman, or they had their Brock Lesnar experiment in mind, with Roman Reigns beating him for the belt, and people, exploding with excitement that Roman Reigns is the new champion, even though that didn't happen. With Braun Strowman, I don't want to say he's screwed up as the top guy just yet, but they are getting to that point with how they're currently booking him by not allowing him to win the big matches and also not allowing him to become world champion. Because the longer they hold off on that, it's not like a Daniel Bryan situation where it's like people are yearning for Daniel Bryan as champion. They are with Braun, but the guy's not an underdog. He should have been champion by now. He's one of the most dominant people in the entire company. If he can't win the belt, that's really saying something. So again, I really hope that time does come because they are kind of losing their way with Braun quite quickly. The match and feud with KO was kind of a waste of time, especially if they were going to turn Braun Strowman heel. And the matches weren't really that good at all. They were very one-sided in favor of Braun Strowman. So they are, he's not as hot as he was a couple of months back. He's not as, he's not as popular. He's kind of a bit cold. He's not ice cold, but he is colder than he was at the onset of 2018. So I would heat him up again with a Universal Championship victory. Again, I would do it at Hell in a Cell. They're not going to take the championship off of Roman so soon, I imagine. But that's what I would do. Just because I do think that Braun is worthy of a Universal Championship run. And the longer they hold out on that, the more damage is done to Braun Strowman's character, and the less people are going to believe in him as a legit contender to that top title. But again, that's purely my opinion. We'll see where they go with it, but I'm not convinced they know exactly what they're doing with Braun Strowman right now. And that does it, guys, for episode 248 of #AskGSM here today for August 29th, 2018. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the show. Be sure to support the show by liking the video, dropping a comment, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below in the comment section. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy All In on Saturday, which I cannot wait for. I'll see you guys next month for the first episode of #AskGSM in the month of September, and I'll catch your ass down the road.